Crixer, a deadly alien assassin, had never failed a mission. His cold, reptilian eyes scanned the information about his new target, a human diplomat from Earth. The contract was simple: get in, eliminate the target, and leave without a trace. To Crixar, humans were weak, primitive creatures. This mission seemed no different from the countless others he had completed across the galaxy. As he approached Earth in his stealth ship, Crixar felt confident. Humans had no idea he was coming. His race, the Rakshans, were masters of stealth, and their technology was far beyond anything humans could ever create. He cloaked his ship and descended into Earth's atmosphere, unnoticed by any human radar or satellite. Crixar landed silently in a dark forest near the diplomat's residence. The night was quiet, and he could hear the wind rustling through the trees. He activated his cloaking device, making him invisible to human eyes and cameras. Moving swiftly, he reached the perimeter of the diplomat's heavily guarded estate. The security around the estate looked laughable to Crixar. Human guards with simple weapons patrolled the area, unaware of the danger lurking nearby. With a sly smile, Crixar moved closer, confident that his mission would be over in minutes. But as he prepared to enter, something unexpected happened. Alarms began to blare. Crixar froze, his mind racing. How could they know he was here? He hadn't triggered any of their systems. Before he could react, a squad of human soldiers appeared from the shadows, their weapons aimed directly at him. Crixar's eyes widened in disbelief. These humans were not ordinary security guards. They were highly trained special forces. They moved with precision, their eyes scanning for any sign of movement, despite Crixar's cloaking device. Somehow, they had detected him, even though his technology was supposed to be undetectable. Crixar realized too late that the humans had been expecting him. They had set a trap, and he had walked right into it. As he tried to retreat, one of the soldiers fired a shot that grazed his shoulder, causing him to stumble. Pain shot through his body, but he couldn't afford to stop. He needed to escape. Activating his ship's emergency recall, Crixar vanished into the forest, running as fast as his legs could carry him. The human soldiers pursued him, but Crixar's speed and agility allowed him to stay just ahead of them. His mind raced, trying to understand how things had gone so wrong. How had these humans outsmarted him? Reaching the edge of the forest, Crixar finally made it back to his ship. He leaped inside and launched into the sky, barely escaping the human forces below. As he soared into space, Crixar's body trembled. For the first time in his career, he had failed. Worse, he had underestimated his prey. Humans were not the easy targets he had imagined. They were smarter, faster, and far more dangerous than he had ever believed. As he flew away from Earth, wounded and humiliated, Crixar knew one thing for certain: humans were not to be taken lightly. His mission had failed, but the real failure was his own arrogance. Crixar had thought he was the predator, but tonight he had learned a harsh truth. Humans had become hunters too. Crixar limped into the shadows of the Assassin Guild's base, his pride wounded more than his body. The other assassins stared as he passed, some whispering, others laughing quietly. Failure was not common among their kind, and Crixar's return without completing his mission was a stain on his reputation. He entered the chamber of the council, where the leaders of the guild awaited his report. They were tall, imposing figures, their faces hidden behind dark masks. Crixar kneeled before them, feeling the weight of his failure. "You were sent to kill a human," one of the council members hissed, "yet you return empty-handed." Crixar clenched his fists, the memory of his failure still fresh. The humans, they were prepared. Their technology, their tactics, they were far more advanced than we believed. The room went silent. The council members exchanged glances, clearly surprised by his words. For years, humans had been considered a weak and inferior species. No one thought they could pose a real threat. "Are you saying a human outsmarted you?" another council member asked, their voice filled with disbelief. Crixar's jaw tightened. "Yes, I underestimated them. They set a trap, and I walked right into it. Their soldiers were well trained, their defenses far more sophisticated than anything we anticipated." The council fell into an uneasy silence. Crixar could feel the tension in the air. They were not used to hearing about failure, especially when the target was a human. After a moment, the leader of the council spoke. "We will not tolerate failure. But if what you say is true, then humans have become more dangerous than we thought. We cannot ignore this." Another assassin, Vorn, stepped forward. He was larger and more experienced than Krixar, known for his brutal efficiency. Vorn had never failed a mission, and his confidence was unshakable. "I will take the next contract," Vorn declared, his voice filled with arrogance. "If humans have truly become a threat, then I will deal with them personally." The council nodded in agreement, giving Vorn the approval to proceed. Krixar remained silent, but deep inside, he knew this mission would not be as easy as Vorn believed. He had seen firsthand how clever the humans were, how quickly they adapted to danger. As Vorn prepared for his mission, the other assassins whispered among themselves. Some mocked Krixar, calling him weak for failing to kill a human. Others, however, were more cautious, sensing that something had changed. Krixar could hear their whispers, but he ignored them. He knew the truth. The humans were evolving, growing stronger with every encounter. If the Assassin Guild continued to underestimate them, it would only lead to more failures. Vorn launched his mission with the same confidence that Krixar had once had. He believed his superior technology and skills would guarantee success. But Krixar, still nursing his wounds, watched from the shadows with a growing sense of dread. As days passed, the guild waited for news of Vorn's success. But then, the unexpected happened. A transmission came in. Vorn had failed. He had barely escaped Earth, just as Krixar had. His ship was damaged, and he was injured, but more importantly, Vorn admitted something no assassin had ever dared to say. "Humans, they are dangerous, more dangerous than we ever thought." The guild erupted into chaos. Fear spread among the assassins like wildfire. If even Vorn, the guild's most feared killer, couldn't eliminate a human target, what hope did the rest of them have? Krixar stood quietly in the corner, his fears confirmed. The humans had changed. They were no longer prey. They were now a force to be reckoned with, and the assassins, once feared across the galaxy, were beginning to feel something they hadn't felt in a long time: fear. The council members exchanged uneasy glances, realizing the full weight of the situation. The humans were no longer just another target. They had become a threat, and if the assassins didn't adapt quickly, they would be the ones hunted next. The Assassin Guild was in disarray. Fear, once unknown among its members, now filled the air. After both Krixar and Vorn failed their missions against humans, no one wanted to take on human contracts anymore. The council, once confident in their superiority, now felt the pressure mounting. Humans had become unpredictable, and worse, dangerous. Krixar watched from the shadows, his mind heavy with the weight of his previous failure. He knew that the guild had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. But what the guild didn't know was that humans were not just defending themselves. They were planning something far bigger. Meanwhile, on Earth, human leaders were not content with simply stopping the assassins. They knew that as long as the guild existed, more assassins would come. The best way to ensure Earth's safety was to eliminate the threat entirely. A secret task force was assembled, made up of the most skilled soldiers and intelligence agents. Their mission was clear: find the location of the Assassin Guild and strike before they could regroup. It was a risky operation, but humans had always thrived on challenges. The task force operated quietly, sending small teams into alien-controlled territories, gathering data from captured communications and hidden networks. Slowly, they began to piece together the puzzle. The guild, which had hidden in the shadows for so long, was finally within reach. Back at the guild, the council grew more anxious with each passing day. They had expected humans to go into hiding after the failed assassinations. Instead, something strange was happening. Information about the guild's activities was being leaked, and no one knew how. "How are they finding us?" one of the council members demanded during a meeting. "No one has ever been able to track us down before." Krixar, still recovering from his wounds, listened quietly. He knew the answer. "Humans are different," he said softly, stepping forward. "They learn. They adapt faster than we thought possible. If we keep underestimating them, They will destroy us." The council members exchanged nervous glances. Crixor's words echoed the fears growing in the back of their minds. But it was already too late. At that very moment, the human task force made its move. A covert team had managed to track the guild's main base to a remote moon on the outskirts of the galaxy. The humans had planned the attack with precision, using stealth technology similar to what the assassins had once used against them. As the task force approached, the guild's defenses remained unaware. The humans moved silently, infiltrating the base with ease. The guild had grown too confident in their secrecy, never imagining anyone could find them. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the guild's halls. Crixor's instincts kicked in as he realized what was happening. "They found us," he shouted, drawing his weapon. The base erupted into chaos. Assassins scrambled to defend themselves, but they were unprepared for the level of skill and strategy the humans brought with them. The task force moved like shadows, taking out key targets and disabling the guild's systems with swift precision. Crixor and a few others fought back, but they were overwhelmed. Human soldiers, equipped with advanced weaponry and tactical knowledge, struck fear into the hearts of even the most seasoned assassins. The tables had turned. As explosions rocked the base, Crixor barely managed to escape through an emergency tunnel. He looked back at the burning ruins of the guild, the place that had once been untouchable. The guild's leaders were either dead or captured, and Crixor knew that the days of the Assassin Guild were over. For the first time, the galaxy had seen what humans were truly capable of. They weren't just defending themselves anymore. They were taking control. And now, even the most feared killers in the universe knew to fear them. As Crixor fled into the dark expanse of space, one thought lingered in his mind. Humans were no longer prey. They had become predators, and the galaxy would never be the same. Crixor stood in the darkness of an abandoned outpost, far away from the ruins of the Assassin Guild's base. His once proud guild had been obliterated by the humans, and now he was one of the few survivors left. The fear of humans had spread across the galaxy, and no one dared to take a contract on them anymore. But Crixor wasn't ready to give up. He had spent his entire life as a warrior, an elite assassin who feared nothing. The thought of hiding from humans disgusted him. He believed that the guild's downfall had been due to arrogance and lack of preparation. He was different. He would face the humans again, but this time on his own terms. Determined to make his final stand, Crixor sent a message across the stars, directly to the humans. It was a challenge, a final battle between him and their best soldiers. If he won, they would leave him in peace. If they won, he would surrender. It was a desperate move, but Crixor needed to prove, if only to himself, that he was still the galaxy's greatest assassin. The message reached Earth, and the humans were quick to respond. They knew who Crixor was, the one assassin who had escaped their attack. The challenge was accepted, but this time they wouldn't underestimate him. They sent their most elite team to confront him, a group of hardened soldiers who had faced far worse than Crixor. Crixor prepared for the battle meticulously. He had chosen a remote, barren planet as the battlefield, a place where he could use the environment to his advantage. He spent days setting traps, studying the terrain, and planning every move. This was his fight for survival, and he wouldn't make the same mistakes. When the human task force arrived, they were met with silence. Crixor watched from a distance as they landed, their eyes scanning the empty landscape. They moved cautiously, knowing that Crixor was a master of stealth and strategy. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the ground beneath them, one of Crixor's traps. It caught two soldiers off guard, knocking them down, but they quickly recovered. The rest of the team spread out, their weapons drawn, eyes alert. They knew this was no ordinary mission. Crixor watched from a hidden vantage point, impressed by their speed and precision. The humans were quick, far quicker than he had expected. But he was ready. He moved silently through the rocky terrain, setting off a series of distractions to confuse them. As the humans reacted, he struck. With lightning speed, Crixor engaged the first soldier, his blade cutting through the air with deadly precision. But the human was faster than he anticipated, blocking his strike with a well-timed move. Crixor's eyes widened as they fought, realizing just how skilled these humans had become. Every move he made was countered. Every trick he tried was met with equal force. The battle raged on, Crixer fighting with everything he had. But no matter how hard he tried, the humans adapted to his every tactic. They moved as one, their teamwork flawless, their coordination perfect. Crixer had never faced an enemy like this. As the final moments of the fight approached, Crixer found himself cornered, breathing heavily, his energy drained. The humans surrounded him, their weapons aimed at his chest. He had fought bravely, but deep down, he knew he had lost. For a moment, there was silence. Crixer stood tall, accepting his defeat. "You have earned your victory," he said quietly, his voice calm. "I underestimated your kind once again." The leader of the human team stepped forward, lowering his weapon. "We don't kill unless we have to," the soldier said. "You can surrender, Crixer. It's over." Crixer looked into the eyes of the human leader, seeing something he hadn't expected: respect. These humans were not just warriors. They were honorable. He nodded slowly, dropping his weapon to the ground. The battle was over, and so was Crixer's long reign as an assassin. Humans had proven themselves not just as powerful enemies, but as equals in a galaxy where strength had always ruled. Crixer sat quietly in his cell, staring out at the stars beyond the window. The battle was over. He had surrendered to the humans, and now he waited for his fate. In all his years as an assassin, he had never imagined a day like this, defeated not by any alien race, but by humans. His thoughts were a swirl of confusion and respect. Humans were unlike anything he had faced before. The door to his cell slid open, and the human commander who had led the mission stepped inside. Crixer looked up, his eyes meeting those of the soldier. There was no hatred in the human's gaze, only a calm understanding. "You fought well," the commander said, sitting across from Crixer. "You're one of the best we've ever faced. But things have changed. The galaxy is no longer what it used to be." Crixer nodded slowly. He had known this from the moment the humans defeated him. The galaxy was shifting, and the old rules no longer applied. The humans had proven themselves to be more than just a target. They were now a power to be reckoned with. "What happens now?" Crixer asked, his voice steady despite the uncertainty he felt. The commander leaned back in his chair, thinking for a moment. "That depends on you. The galaxy is changing, Crixer. The days of unchecked violence and assassination are coming to an end. We're building something new, something better, and you could be a part of it." Crixer raised an eyebrow. "A part of it? After everything I've done?" The commander smiled slightly. "Yes, you're a warrior, and we respect that. We don't want to destroy you, Crixer. We want to build alliances, to bring peace to a galaxy that's been torn apart by conflict for too long. The assassin guilds, the warlords, they won't survive in this new order, but those who are willing to adapt, to change, they have a place." Crixer thought about the commander's words. It was a strange offer, one he never expected to hear. The assassin guilds had operated for centuries, spreading fear across the stars. But now, in the face of humanity's strength, their way of life was crumbling. Maybe the humans were right. Maybe the galaxy needed something different. "And if I refuse?" Crixer asked, testing the limits of his situation. The commander's expression darkened, but his voice remained calm. "If you refuse, we'll send you back to your people. But I think you know what's waiting for you out there. Chaos. War. A slow death as the old systems collapse. You can either be part of that chaos, or you can help shape what comes next." Crixer felt a strange weight lift from his chest. He had spent his whole life serving a system of violence, but now, for the first time, he saw another path. The humans weren't offering him freedom. They were offering him a chance to rebuild. It wasn't an easy decision, but he knew deep down what he had to do. "I'll join you," Crixer said finally. "If it means a chance at something better, I'll stand with you." The commander nodded, satisfied with the answer. "Good. You won't regret it. This is just the beginning, Crixer. The galaxy is changing, and those who are willing to work together will thrive." As Crixer was escorted from his cell, he couldn't help but feel a sense of hope. It was a strange feeling for someone who had spent his life in the shadows. but the more he thought about it, the more it made sense. The humans weren't just fighting for survival, they were fighting for a new future, one where power came not from fear, but from unity. In the days that followed, news spread across the galaxy. The humans had not only survived the assassins, they had brought them to their knees. More and more species began to reach out to humanity, seeing them as leaders in this new galactic order. The old ways were falling apart, and in their place, a new alliance was forming, one built on trust, respect, and cooperation. Crixer, once feared as a deadly assassin, now stood at the edge of this new era. He didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in his life, he felt like he was part of something greater than himself. The galaxy was changing, and he would be there to witness it all. The reign of fear was over. A new galactic order had begun, and humanity was leading the way,